Hey everyone, welcome to another community call. This is November community call. I'm being joined here by Ben Urban. He's our senior full stack developer, and we have Trecia Cat joining us, who is a DevRel intern with us at Strapi, and my name is Paul. Welcome. We have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about, and I'm mostly excited for having Ben on to tell us what's coming soon. Well, not that soon, but we're going to tell you more about it, and it's going to be really awesome, but give you roadmap updates of something really cool that we're working on. But first, let's kind of talk about some of the basics and basically what we've been up to. And so we're going to talk about what's been happening. We're going to talk about the roadmap updates first, because I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to chat with Ben about what's coming. Very cool feature, very important feature. Then we're going to talk about what's new in Strapi 4.5 that was released today, and going to also showcase some community stuff. And I also wanted to talk about, we have a lot of questions about Populate, and I'm going to show you some of the tips of how I use Populate to make it easier when I want to make requests from my front end, and they'll do some Q&As. But with that being said, let's kind of jump in. What's been happening? A lot of cool stuff. If you missed the previous stream, we talked about, we released API tokens, custom fields. We talked about amazing, cool Discord events that we're doing. And NextConf happened. Everybody should be excited for Next.js 13. And Trish did an amazing talk. She's going to tell us a little bit more about it in a little bit. But if you missed API tokens, it's an amazing addition that we have in Strapi, which allows you to set access to your controllers, your content types. And before, in the past, if you used it in the past, you literally only had either full access or read only. But now we have custom settings that you could do, which allow you to control which content you want people to have access via the token that you get. So if you haven't done it, go check it out. It's pretty awesome. We talked about it in our last stream, so I'm not going to spend too much time about it, but I just wanted to throw it out here so everyone is aware. And of course, custom fields are live, which is amazing. You're now able to use custom fields that somebody else has created, and you could find them in our marketplace. And if you wanted to, you could also create your own custom fields. And what's awesome, it's literally like building a plugin. So if you have never built a plugin before, we do have a great tutorial that we made that shows you how to get started with plugin development. And that is a great segue to get into building custom fields. And we'll touch more about some of the different custom fields that we have available. And to set them up is fairly simple. You just go ahead to the marketplace, which we made some great improvements in terms of sorting, filtering, and giving you relevant information to see if the plugin is compatible with the version of Strapi that you're using. And makes it really easy to get started to add plugins or custom fields into your Strapi application. Literally just search the marketplace, copy the yarn or npm install command, run it, and select that custom field that you want to use in the custom field settings in your Strapi application. But I do want to talk to Trish, because Trish did an amazing talk at Next.js, which happened NextConf, I guess, where they talked about Next.js 13 that happened. So Trish, can you tell us about your experience giving a talk, what it was like, and what was the most exciting thing that you learned?
Okay, so hello everybody. I'm Trish. I guess Paul did introduce. Okay, the nerves are kicking in now. Okay, so talking about my talk at Next.js Conf. So the title of my talk is, if I'm not mistaken, why I chose Next.js for my Strapi application. So basically, I talk about why I chose Next for my application. I talk about the benefits of using Next.js, what I found interesting, what drew me into using Next.js for my application. And I honestly think that it's the most amazing framework to ever exist. And I am going to be building a lot of things using Next.js for my upcoming side project. And most interesting announcement made at Next.js Conf is the announcement of Next.js 13, which introduces the app directory, which is, I think it's beta, if I'm not mistaken. And so you have a new way of creating layouts for your applications and other things. We have font. You can import fonts from your Next applications. And yeah, I guess the most exciting one for me was just the app directory. I won't lie. The other
Yeah.
ones, I guess I'll just figure them out as I build my applications and get more into Next.js 30.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really excited. Really cool that they have that new layout features, a couple of other features coming up. And I know we have actually our food advisor, and many of our projects here at Strapi are actually built with Next.js. So we really, really love Next.js, and we are excited to start using Next 13, and we'll keep you up to date when we're building new things. But if you haven't tried Food Advisor demo, if you want to kind of see what it does it look like when you have Strapi running with Next.js, you could go to strapi.io and check it out. It's really, really cool. And the one thing I was going to say, a lot of people like, you talk to Trish loves Next.js. It's really awesome. Lately, I've been exploring Remix. And the coolest part about Strapi and using Strapi is that we're framework agnostic. And it doesn't matter what framework you love. For the front end, you can use it with Strapi. And that's the beauty of it, which I love, because you could explore any front end you want for your Strapi application. And thanks, Trish, for that. That was really, really awesome. And I was so excited that I skipped the slide that says roadmap updates, because I want to chat with Ben today, because we want to talk about what is planned for the future of Strapi. We have something cool that's coming, and I would like him to chat to us about our Deets feature. And if you're like, what is that? Well, that's why we have Ben, and we're going to talk about it. So Ben, welcome, and thank you for joining us. And how are you today?
Thank you, Paul. I'm doing pretty well today. How are
you? Very good, very good. So let's chat about this Deets feature, what it is in a nutshell, and why are we building it?
All right. First of all, it's called Deets because it stands for Data Export Import Transfer System, and it's a whole system we've built for moving your data around between instances of Strapi. And for 4.6, we're planning to release the import and export feature, which export will pull all of your data out of Strapi, including your media files and everything you need to get it running again to import it and then run it again and have the exact same data.
Yeah. Nice.
And so sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say go ahead, and then I'll ask you some questions. It's fine. I don't want to interrupt.
Okay. No, I was just going forward and jumping ahead to 4.7 as well, when the transfer part comes in. And that's really cool. That's where we are planning to directly push data, to transfer data from one Strapi instance to another. So for example, if you're moving to Strapi Cloud, and you're currently hosting your Strapi, you can run this transfer command and just send your data directly to your cloud instance and get that up and running as fast as possible.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So one of the things that, in the past, when people would migrate from one version of Strapi to another, the data migration aspect has always been challenging. So one of the biggest motivations for this feature is to basically eliminate any friction that someone may have when moving data from one Strapi environment to another. And so the first iteration that we're working on, which is going to be released in 4.6, is just the ability to import data and export data within the Strapi application that you have running. And can you talk a little bit about how that's going to look for that initial release?
Sure. Yeah, we are adding commands to the Strapi CLI, so you can just run Strapi export, and we have several flags several options you can use depending on if you want to use encryption or not, if you want to compress your file, things like that. and our focus was to make it as flexible as possible. So like you said, being able to move between versions of Strapi. So we created a very flexible transfer engine that we're calling it, which takes data and puts it in a sort of generic format that you can then move without dealing with these issues of help you solve these migration issues and moving between providers, as I said, with Strapi Cloud.
Nice, nice. And developing this, I do want to ask, because I mean, I know you work really, really hard, and I'm assuming there's always challenges that come up. What were some of the bigger challenges that you faced, you know, building this feature? Just, you know, because it sounds like it's going to be amazing when it comes out, but it really sounds like there's a lot of a lot of work that goes into it. And I just want to say it, like, very impressed with like the team and what you all are doing there.
Yeah, one of the challenges is just how many different pieces there are involved in this. Because normally for a backup, you could, if you're just backing up your Strapi, you can export your database, run a command, and get a database dump, and then you just have a backup of your Strapi. So what we had to develop was something that actually took into account all of the different moving pieces of Strapi, all of the components and dynamic zones and everything, and extract that into a format that can be re-imported using more natural Strapi methods and
Yep.
follow all of our patterns and yeah, provide that mechanism.
Yeah, it's funny when I asked what was. Yeah, sorry, I like to interrupt. There's a little delay, but when I asked what was the biggest challenge, it's funny. Marco says dealing with his PM. You know,
yeah, there's so much that we've wanted to do, and so much we have planned for the future, and so I mean that has been a challenge, deciding which features we want to include and which ones we just have to wait on.
Yeah, and no, that's awesome. And for the initial feature, can you describe what the data format is that you will be exporting?
So the data format is internally it stores entities and links and media as files in this backup archive, and it stores your data in a JSON-L format, which is not as well known as JSON. Essentially, it's JSON that uses line breaks to separate entities, so that way it's much more efficient for streaming, because we expect large amounts of data. We want this to be efficient. We want it to be able to handle any amount of data, essentially. So internally, it's using JSON-L so that we can quickly stream it. Everything internally is built using node streams, which really help with the performance. It lets you do multiple things at a time. You can be receiving data and sending data at the same time, which is going to be extremely useful in the transfer feature. So you don't have to wait to download all of your data and then resubmit it. Working with these sort of tools in the past, my previous job worked with a lot of these things, and one thing that always bothered me was how slow they were. And so I think we have a very, very efficient method of doing it, and that was one of our focuses, was making sure this was very flexible and very efficient, and a lot of work has gone into that. So import and export seem pretty basic, but the future is very wide open, and that's what we're excited about.
Yeah, it's almost seems that. Right, I was going to say, it almost seems like you're really carefully setting the foundation that will allow you to build on this feature to create additional things that are going to blow people's minds, I think, with what will be possible. But initially, like, the idea is that we want to make sure people have easier way to import and export data. And then let's talk about the transfer part of it. Kind of like, you know, the initial goal, I know you briefly mentioned like moving to the cloud, because I do want to plug the cloud. If you're not on the cloud wish list or wait list, for
You
me,
said wish
wish list,
list.
because I'm wishing it be out of,
Oh.
but we are taking our time. All good things take time to build. This is what I'm learning, and I'm really excited for Strapi Cloud. So if you're not on our waiting list, go to strapi.io/cloud and join the waiting list. We're currently in beta, closed testing. So it'll be awesome for you to join the waiting list. And once we have more details, when we will have general availability, we'll let you know. But for now, jump on the list, to be on the waiting list. But part of the reason why we're building transfer is for anyone who, let's say, doesn't want to deal with hosting their Strapi instance themselves and want to move to the cloud, the transfer feature would make that possible. And so can you talk a little bit about that, Ben?
Yeah. So the transfer feature, which is coming in 4.7, should essentially, the way it works is that you'll have your hosted instance of Strapi that you're planning to shut down and move to the cloud. So it should be as simple as signing up for cloud. You'll have some sort of URL or ID.
Yep.
That's still to be developed, but you'll have something that you then input into this CLI command, and you'll just run Strapi transfer, and then give it that ID and a key for security, and
Yep.
it will just immediately start. It'll start streaming all of your data directly from your instance of Strapi straight into the cloud.
Yeah, no, I'm really loving it,
yeah.
because I feel like the idea of managing your data from one instance of Strapi to another, it's almost going to be a thing of a past, based on like the tooling that you're creating. And that's awesome.
Yeah,
and I'm really excited. Yeah, really excited for it. Yep.
And we're really hoping that it can also. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. It's no. I'm more interested in what you have to say.
Talking about
Let's do it.
Talking about the other possibilities. Yeah, we're also hoping that it can possibly even help move data between, if you have a staging server and a production server. Even if you want to keep hosting it yourself, it's useful because you can move data between instances of Strapi. And
yeah, so
I'm not sure if it'll be available for 4.7, but we're also hoping to transfer like partial transfers, where you can just select some data and just move it over. So you can very simply move data between any two instances of Strapi that support the feature.
Yep.
Your cat
and have a friend stopping by. I'm sorry, friend. I'm sorry. I know you're cute, but go. Okay. Because they like walking on the keyboard and typing questions in the chat, but they always ask the hardest questions. And so, like you were mentioning, this would make it easier because, like, sometimes a lot of people, the biggest thing for folks is to make sure when you have your Strapi application locally, then you have your Strapi application in staging, and then you possibly have your application in production. The one thing you don't want to do is point to the same database, because you obviously, don't want to overwrite anything in production. And it seems that this is going to make it easier for people to sync, data between environments if it's something that they want to do. So I'm really, really excited. So just to kind of reiterate, basically right now we're working on import feature, which is going to be released in 4.6, and that uses the JSON-L format that most people haven't heard of it, including me. So kind of cool. I'm going to have to look into it. But the reason why you're doing it, because it's a more flexible format, and you are working to make sure that the way you're building these features, they're very fast and performant. And then in 4.7, we're going to focus on the transfer part, which will allow us to not only move, let's say, your Strapi instance, if you, let's say, hosting it yourself through any one of the providers, and you really want to take advantage of Strapi Cloud that's coming up, you'll be able to do that with that transfer function. But also in terms like if you have your local environment, your staging environment, and your production environment, that will also be a way for you to sync the data.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. No, I'm really excited. I want to say thank you for jumping on and chatting about the features. I'm sure. Let me check questions. If you have any questions in the chat, definitely let us know while we have Ben here. But I'm really, really excited for the features. I think we answered a lot of the important questions around. And yeah, nice. So I want to now go ahead and just chat a little bit more about some of the things that were released in Strapi 4.5. Really excited to talk about them. So let me bring back my slides here. And so let's see here. Sometimes I forget how this computer works. So what's new in Strapi 4.5? So a lot of people were asking about moving the relations from the right column and putting them in the main layout. And that's exactly what we focused and what we did. And I'll show you a quick demo here in just a second. I have too many tabs open, but if we take a look, where do I have my Strapi instance running? Somewhere. I have too many tabs open, and that happens. Let me find it first. But it's like so many tabs. So it's probably not even in the tab, but I think I have it running locally, so I could just go localhost 1337. I'm assuming. Maybe it's not running, and that could be the issue. So let me while we get it running.
Need to get you on Strapi Cloud.
No, 100%. I'm working on it. Get Strapi Cloud. Trish is back. Hey, Trish, how are you?
I think the internet is against me today.
Oh no!
It's
you have the internet against you. Like my whole computer's against me today. So funny thing was I like how like people tell you don't whenever you upgrade your OS, first check to make sure that it's not going to break any of your previous applications that you have installed. Make sure everything's compatible. So I upgraded my OS on my Mac, and now I can't like find half the stuff, and always like trying to figure out where things are. But it is what it is. This is the beauty of doing these shows live, is because you are able to see and make mistakes, and it's all fun and great. No pressure.
Yeah, like things work when you're alone, but then when there's someone else, it's like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. The computer doesn't know what it's doing. So I guess it happens to all of us.
I know I say the computer, but it's probably me today. It's like probably me. So we had
one of those days.
Yeah, it's one of those days. We actually Derek and I and Victor, head of marketing. Derek is one of our solution engineers. Everybody knows who Derek is. We went to Jamstack, and it was a very busy schedule, Monday and Tuesday, and we both arrived late last night. I feel bad for Derek because he was supposed to arrive home earlier than I did, but ended up arriving way later. So we're both kind of, here just powering through, but it's not bad at all. And like just starting up that instance of Strapi here, just so I could show you all the new things that we have going on. Okay, let's bring it back here. And let me, too many things. Let me share my screen again. Here we go. Nice. And so here we are. I have an instance of Strapi running, and I have a couple of items here. But basically, we have a content collection with posts. If we take a look here, normally you would be accustomed to seeing all your relationships on the right, and sometimes it's not enough space, and you're not able to show all the information that you want. So now everything has been moved to the main layout. And so as you could see here, the author is a relation, which is for the author, me, Paul Bratz. We have tags, which is our relation, and we have our categories, which you could see all these items are here on the left. And the cool thing that I like about it now you're able to see some of the more information. Like for instance, like I forgot to publish this category, and I could see it because it's in the draft. So I could go ahead and go publish it now. And to me, this idea of having everything in the main layout, it's pretty awesome. It makes it really, really convenient. So now instead of having to have all your relationships on the right, you could have them here. Another thing you could do that actually, this is very interesting because I'm always learning something new, and I didn't actually explore this before, which now I feel shameful. But notice how you're able to drag and drop, right, the things in the layout. But the thing that I didn't know about, that I saw Derek do recently when he was showing me something, is this ability to resize certain fields. So you could have them take, a third of the screen, half of the screen, 3/4 of the screen, or 100%. And you know what? That was a pretty cool tip. So if you didn't know, now you know. But that's pretty awesome. And then another announcement that we had for this release is just improvements in the marketplace, not only on our main side, but also here in the Strapi instance. And now you're able to filter better when you want to find certain things that you want. For instance, you want to search for items that are made by official partners. You're able to do that. You could filter, do you want custom fields? Let's see all the new custom fields, which is pretty awesome. And now it makes it easier. Before, when you were going to the website, you literally just had everything kind of combined together, the plugins, the custom fields, and now the filtering and sorting makes it way easier for us to find. So you want to find something made by the community, and now you're able to filter. But let me back up here. And so for the community highlight, what I wanted to talk about is all these amazing custom fields that people are building. And we want to encourage more of you who like to build things and are excited. Go ahead and try building a custom field. And if you've never done that before, we have a great video series on our YouTube, how to get started with plugin development. Because if you've built a plugin before, building a custom field is not that much different. Essentially, you're building a plugin that you're able to display in a custom fields. And you could search the marketplace and see all the different custom fields available for now. And we definitely have more coming up. And the next thing I want to talk about, and I don't think I made a slide for it. Let's see here, go through my slides. Community showcase, we talked about. No, I didn't make a slide, but one of the common questions that people talk about is using populate. And a lot of people say it's very confusing, and it can be a little bit intimidating if you're not familiar with the feature that we do and how all the changes that we made. Because now what you're able to do with the REST API is to basically have functionality that you see common in GraphQL. For instance, one of the reasons a lot of people use GraphQL is for this idea of preventing overfetching or underfetching. If you remember Strapi version 3, when you got your response, it would be all the nested data. It would be like too much stuff, half the stuff you don't need. And in version 3, that's why a lot of people would go with GraphQL, because they wanted to just say, hey, this is only the data that I want to get. And so now in our version V4 of Strapi, we made a lot of changes that literally allow you to control the data that you get using our populate feature and our filtering. So now you don't have to use GraphQL, because we have basically the same functionality where you're able to only dictate and get the data that you want from your API in your response. So it will prevent overfetching and underfetching. And I'm going to kind of show you the example of my use case here. And then I'll show you some tips of what you can do to make your process of using it much simpler. And more importantly, tell you where you could learn more in detail, because we recently did a Strapi developer best practices, which we do every third week of every month on Discord. So if you're not on Discord, definitely go and sign up. It's our community is great. And Derek and I, we hang out in live chat there Monday through Friday, 12:30 US Central Time, because both of us in the US. And every third week of every month, we do a Strapi development best practices where we dive into more complex topics of Strapi and go into depth of how to use it. So I'm going to give you a brief example, but please go join our Discord and check out. It's in our archived videos. You'll be able to see the full episode where Derek dived really deep into using populate. But here I'm going to show you a quick example. I have a simple project. Let me again double check that I have all the right things open. Otherwise, I'll be like, hey, this is not the right tab. Where's the right tab? Okay, here we go. And do I have my code open? Yes. And so I have this project running, and let me bring my screen back in. And this is something I'm just building for fun for myself. And okay, here we go. And so I have a basic page collection type, which has content that's coming from a dynamic zone and our components. And you could see like some of it has images, some of them have relationships. And if you use populate and you are familiar with populate equals star, which will only populate all items in the first layer. So it will not go deeper. So if you have a nested image or nested relationship in some of these components, it's not going to populate. And so a lot of people ask questions about, well, how can we do it? What do we do? So the first thing I would always say is start in the documentation and take a look what they say. And so they'll show some examples here of how the query string is structured. But one thing that you have to open up here and see, and to make things easier to use populate, is using the QS library that allows you to write your query essentially in an object notation, which is a lot more human readable. And if you're wanting to know more in detail how to use it, and you just need more context outside of what we have here in documentation, is go on Discord and check out our last Strapi development best practices episode, which goes in real detailed depths of what to use. And so if you take a look here, whenever you want to make a request, you need to pass a query string. And looking here already, like that's not human readable to me. And so what makes more sense to me is doing things in a object notation. And so what I've did in my application, here is me importing the QS library, which if you're not familiar, you could just look it up at npm QS, get a little bit more details how to use it. You could use it both on your back end and your front end. And here I am. What I'm doing is writing that query in object form. And we have this populate flag. We have filters where you're able to tell Strapi things that you want to populate. So I want to populate out of my content, all the posts. I want all the relationships for the author, including the image avatar. And by the way, this is one way of writing it. There's a shorthand for writing this, and I'm not going to show it to you today because I want you to go and see the full Strapi best practices that we did with Derek. You could find it on Discord. So join our Discord. It will show like pretty much everything you need to know about using populate effectively. But for today's tip, what I wanted to do is to tell you about using this QS library to be able to generate your query strings. Otherwise, writing them manually is a pain in the butt. And I'll show you an example of what I mean here. So let me open this REPL that I have here. And so basically what I did is I put that the populate object that I want to populate all the items in my app. And when I hit run, what I'm going to do is I'm going to console log basically the query string that I get back that I want to use to make a request. And then I know it's hard to see here, but let me zoom in here. I mean, forget writing this manually, so if you've been kind of intimidated by making these requests and you're like, man, I really don't understand how to write my query string manually, they get pretty complex because they're doing deep nested, populate functionality. The tip here is don't write them manually and use QS. As you could see here, I'm able to write it in a more readable manner, which is using this object notation, and using the QS library, I'm able to get the query string that I want. And I could now use that query string in my request. So if I go here and I paste it here and click send, you see that I'm getting the data that I want. And the coolest thing, and you can learn more about it by checking out the full talk that Derek did about populate, where you're able to not only ask for the data you want, but if you're getting some data that, for instance, maybe you don't need all of this information, you could actually ignore certain fields and not even return the data that is not relevant for you. Like, for instance, I might not need a lot of this stuff. And so you could literally turn that off in your response and not get it back. So I really wanted to talk about this feature because to me, this has been a game changer. And in the future, we are going to have an SDK that's going to make this even easier. But for now, if you're trying to figure out how to work with complex requests where you want to populate things, you want to filter things, you want to control what fields and data you get returned, please use the QS library. This is what we all use. And again, you could use it on your front end when making requests. You could also use it in your back end as well. And so that for me has been a life changer. So if you haven't tried it out, go ahead and give it a try. And that's pretty much like the one thing that I wanted to make sure I mentioned is that because for me, like honestly, until I got comfortable with using populate and until I found the QS library that Derek recommended that I saw him use, writing stuff manually in the query string notation that you see here on the right has been like really difficult and pain in the butt. So if that's been a pain point for you, go ahead and use this. And like I said before, there's a shorthand way of writing some of these items. And if you want to learn more about them, definitely join Discord and watch that stream. And with that being said, the last thing I want to say is if you're not on the waiting list for Strapi Cloud, make sure that you go ahead and sign up. Maxime did this amazing animation here of a cloud dropping down to bring your eye to click the button, because why? Cloud's going to be amazing. So go ahead, leave your information here, sign up. And like Ben mentioned today, the features that we're working on, import and export and transfer, will make moving your application. So if you're hosting your application somewhere else and you want to move it to the cloud, the features that we're building with our Deets, data export, import, and transfer, it's going to make it straightforward, super easy, and allow you to take your application and migrate it to the cloud. So to learn more, go ahead and join the waiting list. As the details of general availability comes up, I will share them in the next stream. But with that being said, let's open it for some Q&A, and I'll bring Trish back here and see. So if all of you or any one of you have any questions, let us know in the chat below. And by the way, if you want to get the kind of like a blog version of what the release is, you could go to our strapi.io website and read the blog, which covers all the things that were released in 4.5 outside of the things that I think I mentioned everything, but if I forgot something, it will be in the blog post. So let's see if anyone has any questions while we are here. And Trish, do you have any questions?
I guess the question is, what is the QS? Is it like a package that I install?
Yeah, very good question. Yeah, no worries. It's an NPM package that you would install. And what it allows you to do, it allows to like simplify not manually having to write your query strings, which get kind of ridiculous. So you'll be able to literally do npm install or yarn add, whichever you like, and you'll be able to use it to stringify or to create your query string. And what's cool, I'll quickly show it again if you missed it here. a lot of times, like if you start writing manual strings, like the simple strings, like, okay, you can do it. But when you start doing complex filtering and complex population, they do get unruly, right? It's just like literally non-human readable. And I can't tell you what is going on here. And so QS allows you to write everything in this object notation where even if you don't know anything about how this works, you could tell kind of what's going on here. We're asking, populate certain content items from in our request, or, and so this, to me, this object notation is human readable and makes more sense. So when using QS, you are able to write things in a way that makes sense to you, but then return the query string in a way that makes sense when we're making the request. So I think that's really, really awesome. And there's a great question from Derek here about Deets. So let me show. His question is, what's the plan for merging conflicts, and will it automatically take a backup to make rollbacks easier? Wow, very good question, Derek.
Yeah, I noticed we had missed that earlier. Yeah, good question that I was looking forward to answering. So for merging conflicts, we are going to offer a few different options. I can't say for sure which options are going to be available, but at least for 4.6, it'll be a restore, where you can, the intent would be to overwrite an existing Strapi. We would check to see if you already have data. If you do, we warn you that you're going to lose it. For 4.7 and beyond, we will have additional options like if you want to skip those records, if you want to replace them, if you want to update them. So those things are all coming in the future as far as conflict management. As far as automatically taking a backup, for now, we are going to, when you run an import, we're going to let you know, hey, this is going to overwrite some of your data in Strapi. Are you sure you want to do this? Do you want to take a backup first? And recommend that they do their backup. It won't do it automatically, mostly because it would be, there are different options that people might want to export their data with, and so they'll need to run that manually. But rollbacks actually brings up a good point. One feature that we're planning for 4.7 is to have that sort of built in, so that when you run an import, if something goes wrong, it can just it doesn't go wrong. It just rolls back immediately, and you don't lose anything. So that's one feature that we're excited about offering in the future.
Yeah, so no, that's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, everyone should be making backups of their data, but for those who those who live dangerously, for those who live dangerously, we are planning to
commit on Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's there's so many horror stories, and the question is always, why didn't you have backup? It seems like that's such a good thing to do, but yeah, no, but that's great that that we're going to have those features.
And, the built-in rollback feature is more for we can prevent downtime. So you can, if you're running your backup and it fails, you don't have to roll it back yourself. You don't have to try to figure that out. Not break.
No, this is amazing. I feel like with the cloud and the features with Deets that we're working on to allow people to easily not only transfer their data to the cloud if they want to migrate, because they don't want to deploy or worry about deployment themselves, and they want to have an easy way to do literally like just put your GitHub, click deploy, and it's going to be deployed to the cloud, which is amazing because there's so many developers who are front-end developers. They're using Strapi to build full-stack applications. But more importantly, they either don't have the experience of troubleshooting things that go wrong in deployment, or dealing with manual data transfer, like via the old school of migrating data just from one database to another, which could be a pain. And if something goes wrong, it's just hard to troubleshoot if you don't know what to do. And just managing your deployments, even if you're using Heroku or something similar, or some people might not even have the team or DevSop team that is able to do that or wants to do that. Like for me, like I can't wait for the cloud because I'm like the laziest developer you ever find. And so if there's a solution for me that allows me to just like press a button, have it deployed and be fine. And now with everything that you talked about, Ben, making the idea of syncing data between environments, it could be my local environment and then moving data to my cloud environment with the import export and the transfer things that you talked about. I'm super excited because it's really going to make it easier for a lot of people who just either don't want to deal with it or may not have their own like DevOps team. We're literally creating tools that are going to let one person to have a very easy way to deploy their application to the cloud and be able to sync the data back and forth. So I'm really, really, really excited. So let's see, like any other questions from the chat? Don't be shy, ask them. And if you don't get to your question today, or maybe you're shy asking it today, definitely go and join Discord. We have an amazing community. Derek and I hang out there Monday through Friday, 12:30 CST time, literally chatting live with real human beings, not text. You hear our voices. It's a lot of fun. You could ask your questions there. And if you have any questions for Ben or Trish, Trish, I'm going to put you on the spot. When's the next Twitter space coming up?
Okay, so you didn't exactly put me on the spot because I was going to talk about it.
Man, I tried to get you.
Okay, so the next Twitter space will be next week on Tuesday, 5 p.m. CAT, 4 p.m. CET. I'm not sure about the other time zones, but then I'll share the link on I can only share it on the private chat. Please share it with everyone else, Paul.
Yep.
So this space will be about JavaScript versus TypeScript. So there's a lot of buzz around TypeScript, and a lot of people are asking themselves if they should go for TypeScript or should they go for JavaScript. And the answer, it seems that it's going towards TypeScript, because a lot of job applications now, they require you to know some sort of TypeScript. And so that will be a discussion that I hope a lot of people will be joining us for. And we'll have experts on the team, the team of guest speakers, to share their own point of views and expertise on how people should look at the case of JavaScript and TypeScript and how to balance that out. And so that is the space, TypeScript versus JavaScript, on Tuesday, 5 p.m. CAT, 4 p.m. CET. These time zones are so traveling.
Yeah, and I shared the link. Everybody go click on it. And when you said TypeScript, like Ben smiled. Ben, why were you smiling about TypeScript? What's so good about TypeScript? Is overrated.
Yeah,
you know what? I like the
No.
I like Wild Wild West. I just want to be surprised by the code I write. Yeah, and so
exactly.
But
like skydiving.
So, exactly, without a parachute that you have to build before you land. Yes, that's JavaScript in a nutshell. But I was going to say, because you've obviously used TypeScript, and I'm a late adapter to TypeScript. So if you had to give like a sales pitch about TypeScript, like, by the way, everybody should be moving towards TypeScript. Even like I'm reluctantly doing more stuff with TypeScript. I know we got to get Derek on that bandwagon, which I know. But if you were to give us the sales pitch for TypeScript, just in case someone in the fence, but I think I'm the only person who's like jumping on this train really, really late. But what would be the sales pitch for TypeScript?
I don't know. If you're already not on board, I'm not sure what to say.
Listen, I can't even talk to you right now.
It's a real programming language.
No, you did not just spell real.
No. Maybe that's a little too harsh on JavaScript, but
no. Derek is like, no. Star Wars, Darth Vader.
But no, it just keeps your code so much cleaner and so much easier to debug. We love TypeScript. I don't know if it's a secret or not, but I'll reveal it. Like we're actually trying to develop the Deets feature in TypeScript. It would be the first time TypeScript is in Strapi, so we're not sure how that's going to go yet. If we're going to have to back out of that, but we have plans for TypeScript in the future. I know it's going to be 5.0 before we really make a big leap, but yeah, we love TypeScript.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I know, like Marco was like, "You're not alone, Paul," and there's a couple other folks like Esi Mismo Bruno. If I butcher the name, I'm sorry. He's also like, oh, I'm also very, very late. But looking at everything that's happening, like you look at Next.js 13, you look at Angular, like Remix, like a lot of those frameworks out of the box, literally TypeScript is default. And in Angular case, you can't even write it in JavaScript anymore. So it really shows that a lot of companies, especially if you're working on teams, it seems that the benefits offered by TypeScript for teams and people that work on big projects definitely makes sense. And I was kind of making a joke about TypeScript saying like I'm a very late adapter, and a lot of my applications I write still in JavaScript because I look at it like it's a small application. It's something I'm doing for fun. And so writing that additional typing and boilerplate for me doesn't make sense because it's probably going to be a project I'm going to throw away because I'm going to move on to something else. But 100%, if you're working on something where you're on a team, something's going to go into production and you want to add those extra features that will make the developer experience much better, 100% learn TypeScript. And I'm going to be taking vacation coming up soon. And I'm going to spend a lot of my time diving into TypeScript. So I'm really, 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 really excited. But let's see, any other questions before we go? Because we love chatting with all of you in the chat. So let me quickly do.
I actually have a question for both of you.
Oh my gosh,
no.
This is going to be a hard one.
No, it's not at all. So do you think that Strapi will also follow the roadmap that Next and other frameworks are following now, that TypeScript will be a default to,
I think, I don't know what the plan is, but I'm just going to say, I think we're always going to have both options and people will choose the one that they like. But I'm seeing the path is that we're definitely on board of having Strapi at least support TypeScript in terms of development experience to make it easier. Because the biggest, coolest thing is getting the inline code IntelliSense, which makes it so much easier to kind of troubleshoot things. Because sometimes when I write JavaScript, I'll do something and something will break and I won't quite know what it is and why. And then I'm like, oh, it was a string, but it was expecting something else. I completely forgot. And so TypeScript definitely has its place. I think everybody's going to be moving. Like Ben was saying, if you're not on TypeScript yet, it's like, I don't know what to tell you, which I think it's a true statement.
Yeah.
And Derek does, he does do the pushback saying you don't have to have TS project for that, by the way. And, yes, you're right. But hate it or love it, most people love it. So the funny thing would be for TypeScript, so I used to do like C#. And so I'm like, well, we have C#. I'm not saying people should learn C#. But like if you're like in the JavaScript, world, like you have TypeScript now. But I totally understand the benefits and the stuff that brings. It's pretty amazing. And Derek is obviously has to troll everybody, which is great. I'm on the same bandwagon. But at the same time, anybody who's learning to code and you're trying to get hired, knowing TypeScript will definitely put you above someone who doesn't know TypeScript. I'm just going to throw that out there. A hot take, if you will. But if there are no other questions, we could call it a day. So before we go, any last parting words, Trish? Anything that you want to say? Words of wisdom for the folks?
Well, I guess, tune into my space next Tuesday to know if you should go for TypeScript or JavaScript, because, there's clearly some things to discuss so that you can know what to choose. That's my parting words.
Nice. And Ben, by the way, before you give your parting thoughts here, just want to say thank you. It's always great to see people like from the team jumping on the community calls and giving us updates from the source. It's really awesome. We really appreciate the hard work that you and the team is doing. Marco is making sure, cracking the whip, as you will, making sure things get done, which is amazing. So thank you, Marco. And So any last words before we head out here today?
Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad I can share a bit of what we're doing and
No, it
what's
was
going
awesome.
on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's good. It's good to see other members from the team joining the community call. And with that being said, I want to say thank you all for tuning in. If you're not on Discord, definitely jump on. If I had to tell you why should you go on Discord, because there's other awesome people like you on our Discord. And on top of that, Monday through Friday, 12:30 CST time, we do open hour, office hours, where we hang out and chat. We could talk about anything you like. A lot of times we do talk about Strapi and questions you all have. Sometimes we talk about maybe steak, when you have steak. Actually, let me ask this question. I know, Trish, your answer, but Ben, let me ask you. When you have steak, do you like butter on your steak? Is that normal, or do you put something else in your steak? Putting you under
cooked with butter. I don't know about a butter sauce. Sometimes.
Oh my.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I see how it is. I don't know if I could be friends with both of you anymore, to be honest. No, I'm just kidding. But I know Trish is not a big fan of butter. But yeah, so we have fun conversations, not only about technical Strapi stuff. We like to have fun there. So join our Discord, and every third week of every month, we have our Strapi development best practices, where we dive into deeper concepts of Strapi to help everyone become better developers. And it's not a one-way conversation where we talk about what our best practices are, but there's many of you who have built really cool projects and have discovered your own best practices, and we love to hear from you. And so with that being said, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day, great evening. And if it's nighttime and you should be sleeping, thanks for tuning in, but make sure you catch up on your sleep. And with that being said, have a good one, everybody. Bye.